So I have taught a lot of high achievers that burnout is about more than the hours. It is about the beliefs behind our overextension. But over the years, I have found that there is one place that a lot of these people get stuck. And it is that even if they conceptually buy into this idea that, yes, perhaps beliefs are driving my bad behaviors, they struggle to identify those beliefs. And they certainly struggle to unravel and reframe them. Today, I'm going to show you the simplest way to spot the beliefs that are beneath your burnout. Because understanding that you have a belief problem is one thing. Understanding what the belief is so you can actually undo it, completely another. Let's get into it. Hi, I'm Chris. I'm a career and mindset coach. And for the last 9 years, I've worked with driven, capable people who look successful on the outside and yet feel stuck, pressured, or disconnected on the inside. And I want to talk about one of the biggest turning points in my work with clients, which is specifically this mindset work. We're going to be getting into a deep dive of how you actually do this work. And today, specifically, we're going to talk about identifying the head trash that is holding us back. So I'm going to start by sharing this handy dandy little doc, which I'll be sure to drop in the description if you want to have access to that after. But this is going to be guiding us through this conversation about how to actually simply identify our head trash. And so for starters, I wanted to begin by explaining what I even mean by the term head trash. This is about what is most often called limiting beliefs, the unhealthy beliefs that are driving our behaviors in life. And this is not necessarily a sentence that you hear in the back of your head. Sometimes these are conscious, sometimes these are unconscious. And so I always like to explain it like this handy dandy little iceberg. So I'm going to zoom in here. Essentially, it's this idea that above the waterline, the thing we see in any situation is the symptom. These are the visible signs. This is what we can identify. Driving a symptom is our behavior. The things we do drive the outcome that we have. But a layer deeper is the beliefs, and that's the level we're talking at. So tangible example, because if you're anything like me, you need those. So if we are talking about burnout specifically, the symptom that we see above the waterline might be someone is burned out. That is what we see. Why are they burned out though? That's where we look at the behavior driving this exhaustion. So maybe it's a behavior of saying yes when you want to say no, or constantly signing online after you've said you don't want to, or whatever it is. But that specific behavior is the thing that is driving the burnout. And most people, when they look at toxic patterns, kind of focus on the behavior level. They say, oh, I'm overcommitting, so I should just stop overcommitting. Obvious. But the thing these people are missing is that they are leaving out the belief issue. And the belief issue is incredibly important here because the beliefs that we have are the things that drive our behaviors. So in the same scenario, yes, maybe the symptom is I'm burned out. The behavior is constantly saying yes when you want to say no, but the belief is the thing we really need to understand. Why do you always say yes when you want to say no? What are the thoughts that run in the back of your head that then make you feel like you must say yes? So is it, if I don't say yes to everything, I'm not a good team player? Is it, I'm not going to be valuable if I'm not the most amenable person on the team? Part of being a leader is being the last one out the door. What is the belief, the conceptual belief that is driving your behavior and in turn driving your symptom, driving your outcome? That is what we need to identify. And I personally call the unhealthy beliefs head trash, because that's how I see them. They are trash that lives rent-free in our head. So our job here is to start to understand what these beliefs are so that we can actually go through the process to make healthier ones, which will in turn impact our results. But I wanted to start by explaining this idea of beliefs or head trash as a whole to you, because as I will always argue, behavior is not random. It is protective. It is there for a reason. There is a belief driving every single behavior, and it has gotten you to where you are. And that is why it can feel so incredibly hard to rewrite these things. So now that we've covered some of those basics, let's talk about what some common head trash looks like. Now, I could spend an entire day walking you through all of the ones that I hear, but I would say some of the most common ones are these, and I'm going to share them in case any of them resonate. One, my value comes from being impressive. Success is prestige. This is classic with a lot of high performers. Two, I should always be growing and climbing. This is really classic with the constant up leveling. I can't rest on my laurels or I'll become complacent kind of thing. Number three, either success is fill in the blank here or I should fill in the blank here. Any of those, success is this or should is that. All of those certainties almost almost always indicate that there's a piece of head trash there. Number 4, if I slow down, things will fall apart. So whether that's I'm going to let down the team, I'm going to let down myself, I'll lose momentum, I'll become replaceable. All of those things fall under this kind of umbrella. And you can obviously see why that one in particular leads to burnout. Number 5, there is a right choice and there is a wrong choice, and I need to be sure to make the right choice. Classic belief that drives to a lot of overthinking and analysis paralysis for folks. Number 6, I am the capable one. I am tough. I don't need help. That can lead to both burnout, and it can also lead to pushing through and gaslighting yourselves through toxic situations because we don't want to call it quits. And that also kind of leads to number 7, better the devil I know, which is a huge factor that gets a lot of people to stay in things that make them unhappy solely because they convince themselves that they need to appreciate what they have. Now, those are all really common forms of this head trash, and one of them might resonate, multiple, maybe all of them might resonate, but I'm not necessarily just here to show you a list of what head trash can be. I want to show you what I think is the easiest way to spot them, which is looking at what I call the ideal reality gap. And so this ideal reality gap essentially takes a look at what is the thing that I want to have happening, what is actually happening, why is there a gap between those two things? And it is the easiest way, in my opinion, to identify where we have head trash. So I want to teach it to you. So step number 1, name the thing you say you want. What is your ideal? So in this example, maybe it is, I keep saying I want to leave by 5 p.m. Well, step number 2, name the reality that is happening instead. I keep signing on extra hours. I keep signing on after my kids go to bed. I keep doing a little bit extra, right? I keep saying I want A to happen, but B is happening instead. Then we go to step 3, the actual real powerful question here, which is why? If we have a gap recurring between our ideal and reality, that almost always shows there's some sort of mindset issue here or a belief problem. Or another way to put it is something that you are more committed to than the thing you say you want. So in this example, right, you say you want to leave by 5, but you keep doing these extra hours. Well, maybe it's that you are more committed to being a good team player than you are to the thing you say you want. Than you are to leaving by 5. And so, of course, if you're more committed to that, there is clearly a belief there of, in order to be a good team player, I must say yes to everything. Or in order to be a good team player, I need to be amenable. Any of those beliefs can come in here, but because we've looked at this difference between ideal versus reality, we can really easily spot it. So if you are wondering what some of your beliefs are, try writing out what are those recurring gaps between ideal and reality. If you struggle to find this, talk to someone you know and love, someone who knows you really well and won't be afraid to tell you the truth, because they'll be able to identify what's that thing you keep saying you want to do versus what's actually happening. Let's look at what's between those two things. So today I want you to just start with that by identifying your unhealthy beliefs and your head trash, because if we can get that down on paper, then we can go through the process of starting to unravel and unpack it and reframe it. And that's how we get to a place where we can make healthier, more aligned choices in our career and our life, where we'll feel more at peace, more at ownership, and a heck of a lot less burned out. Now, I want to say one more thing as you start to look at your unhealthy beliefs, which is that, yes, we are calling these head trash. We are calling these limiting beliefs, but at their core, they are just beliefs. So obviously these things are toxic in that they are leading to something unhealthy in your life, maybe staying small or not doing the things you want to do. But at their core, the beliefs themselves are not wrong. They're not proof that you're broken, and they're not dramatic, and they're not silly. They are things that you have truly believed that have gotten you to where you are in some way. And so I just really want to emphasize that we don't want to look at these and judge these necessarily. We kind of just want to look at them to get an inventory of the playing field. So we can say, ooh, yeah, I see what's going on there. Because yes, we can work on reframing them and moving through them, but for starters, we just need to begin by knowing what we're working with. Once you can name the beliefs, you can stop fighting your behavior and actually start working through it. Spotting the belief is step 1, like I said. Seeing it is not necessarily the same thing as shifting it. And obviously that's where a lot of people get frustrated. So I'll be talking about this in our next few videos. I'm going to show you what actually works when it comes to unraveling and changing these beliefs. But for now, I want you to start by identifying 1, maybe 2 beliefs. Go through that ideal versus reality exercise and tell me below what is one piece of head trash that's coming up for you. Because if you can start by understanding it, then we can go from there. So if you're comfortable, drop it in the comments. Sometimes seeing it written out can really help you actually process it and say, oh, okay, this is what we're working with. So let's see what we're working with. If you want a more structured way to work through this process individually so that we can go through and I can help you actually suss out those beliefs based on what I have seen with clients, reach out We take on 2 one-on-one clients per quarter, and so that's always something that we can explore. Or as always, you can head to the workshop at the link in the description. It'll walk you through the entirety of the Achievers Reset framework, and it'll talk about that second step, all about beliefs. So you'll be able to learn more there. So be sure to join us next week as we talk about how to actually meaningfully change these things. And as always, be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to come back for more. Bye.